What is up, back here with another YouTube video, and in case you cannot tell by the title below, this video will be a video where I share my thoughts and opinions on someone or something going on in this wacky weird wrestling world. As you can tell by the title below, this one would be my thoughts and opinions on the very nice, very evil wrestler named Danhausen. Before I share my thoughts and opinions on Danhausen, would love to know what your thoughts are on him down in the comments below, and especially if you're more familiar with his work than I am. Yeah, I know who he is. Yeah, I can pick him out in front of a crowd kind of deal, because he's one of the few guys in American wrestling off the top of my head nowadays that wrestles with face paint, but that definitely helps and whatnot. But I'm not like going out of my way to watch matches of his. No disrespect to him. He's a funny enough guy to follow on the Twitter machine and whatnot. But the first time I heard about him, I don't remember the exact date, but it was through Ring of Honor. I think it was around October of 2019 when he made his ROH TV debut against somebody I forget off the top of my head. It's been better part of 5 years ago now. 5. Yeah, I don't know how math works sometimes. But that was my first introduction to him. I thought, okay, this is a comedy-ish wrestler that can go in the ring. I mean this in a good way. Obviously different characters than, let's say, Dalton Castle, but Dalton Castle, he is a gimmicky wrestler that can wrestle. Danhausen is a gimmicky wrestler that can wrestle, based off what I've seen. Again, I'm not the most familiar with his work, and he's been with ROH from, I assume 2019 in some way, shape, or form to 2021, and then I think it was 2021, maybe 2022, he signed with AEW, and as far as I'm aware of, is still with AEW, or at least affiliated with AEW in some way, shape, or form. I don't remember the last time he was on TV. I just have not heard that he's out of his contract, so I assume that he's with AEW, but you know what they say when you assume and whatnot. But based off of the last 5 or so years of my me being familiar with his work, and if I was Tony Khan, I'm not saying push him to the moon. I'm not saying put the world title on him yesterday. I'm just saying you have, 2 hours of Dynamite, 1 hour of Rampage, 2 hours of Collision, there's God, plus however many hours you choose of Ring of Honor on Honor Club. So let's say there's, in between those 4 brands, Dynamite, Rampage, Collision, Ring of Honor, there's 7 hours of quote-unquote TV. There's got to be room to make to be for Danhausen. Again, I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of his, but he's good in the ring. He's okay on the mic. Gimmick, like him talking on the mic, I don't want to say fix his gimmick, but it goes well with his gimmick kind of deal. Can definitely hold his own. And from what I've seen outside looking in, his merchandise apparently, allegedly, goes well, which merchandise helps you make money. I assume that Tony Khan likes money, but like I said, you know what they say when you assume. But I would find time to put him on TV in some way, shape, or form. Again, I'm not saying that he's the best in the ring. I'm not saying he's the best on the mic. I'm not saying that his very nice, very evil, and quote-unquote gimmick is the best. I'm sure that he'll admit that kind of deal, but it's one of those things like, man, I don't watch Collision, I don't watch Rampage because I don't have TSN Plus. On Ring of Honor's like a little bit here, a little bit there, if I ever remember to pay, kind of deal. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's like you have him for, let's say, the last 2 years under contract. I can probably count on one hand the amount of matches he's had, kind of deal, and most, if not all of them, were tag or battle royals, kind of deal. But yeah, if I was Tony Khan in a hypothetical world, I would find him. Even if he becomes Mr. Rampage, then that would be something, because his gimmick, if it's a good guy gimmick, if he's very nice, then the kids, I can see him liking. I'm not saying that he's similar to Darby Allin, but kids, as somebody who's granted has not been a child for a long time, but as a former child who was a wrestling fan, I like people who wore face paint, wore masks. Those were like really cool. And guess what Danhausen wears? Friggin' face paint, kind of deal. And again, he can back it up in the ring, kind of deal. But honestly, I like him enough. He wrestled locally right before the pandemic in like late February, and I kicked myself in the butt for not meeting him. But then again, I didn't know about it until like a week or two after, so that's on me. But yeah, overall, I like him. Is he one of my favorites to watch on the independent slash AEW? Maybe. Independence, again, if he wrestled locally, I would consider going to meet him, shake his hand, get a photo, all of that stuff. But would I go travel to Ottawa or to Windsor to meet him? I don't know about that. Overall, I like him. I can see why people would like him. His merch, not necessarily for me, but I'm not saying it's bad. It's just something I wouldn't wear personally. But yeah, that's it for this one. Hope you guys let me know your thoughts on him down in the comments below. Treat yourself well mentally, emotionally, and physically.